right. Okay. So first, we'll start off. Coach Forrester, Coach Mara, appreciate you guys hopping on again. It's been a while since both of y'all have been on here, but I know with the new reclassification that just came out, y'all just had your region scheduling meeting. I guess all coaches right now are certainly trying to fill out their schedules. Just what you can tell me, what was that like today? Coach Forrester, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was really refreshing to get in with a group of men, all coaches, and just get to sit down and talk ball. But there's a lot more to being a head coach than just talking X's and O's. So we talked about buses, we talked about pregame meals, we talked about all the dynamics. Getting kids from our hallway to play football. I mean, a lot of different things we talked about. So we talked for about 3.5 hours with our group. And so it was a really good time. We brought in some Moe's barbecue and they fed us. And then we were able to sit down and just talk about stuff relating to football. So for me, it was one of those just refreshing days. Like I left with a smile on my face. It's been a tough couple days just thinking about what the future holds. And then all of a sudden you saw a peek into what the future would hold. And so I'm really grateful that I got to sit down with the coaches.
How about you, Coach Mara? What was the meeting like for you after the week that it's been?
Yeah, I'd agree with everything Coach said. I mean, it was refreshing to be able to get in there and talk about it, but to also see just as much chaos as there's been over the past week or so with what the unknowns are, but seeing that group of guys come together and say, okay, we're going to figure it out, and how can we work to help each other, and what works for you to make sure that we can get through this for the next 2 years, and going through the region meetings. And obviously there's some might be some travel challenges for some of the region, or for some of the teams in there, and just being able, like, watching all the coaches work together and say, oh, well, this team may need this little detail or whatever it may be. And then even getting into the fan experience and how this school may be altering some of the plans. I know one thing we're looking at, and one thing we talked about today was, like, we plan on getting charter buses for students and parents, and maybe selling seats, and maybe doing a Chick-fil-A sandwich on the way there and on the way back. So that there's just some level of that fan experience, and that overall experience, not just for the team, not for just the football teams, but the parents and both schools involved, and making the best of whatever the situation may be.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll knock out travel early in this. Let's get that one out of the way. I want to use an example first. Like, I think everybody, obviously, like, y'all are two football coaches, but you touch all sports, right? Like, you're familiar with all sports at your school. An example I'll use, Coach Forrester, you know this, that for a while, our son got into Briarwood.
Mhm.
We made a very difficult family decision to stay put. Had nothing to do with Briarwood. It had everything to do with just where we are in life, right? And when this reclassification happened, yeah, I'm looking at football. Obviously, I looked there first, but I'm thinking down the road. Like, my son is really, really, really into basketball right now. I mean, he's 6 years old, but it's his thing right now. And I'm thinking, well, what if he was 16 right now and we had gone to Briarwood? I know I'm playing a lot of what ifs, but what if he's on the basketball team and they've got Tuesday night games all the way in Huntsville? And I'm thinking, what is that like for him and coaching staff and cheerleaders, and certainly obviously for parents? Just kind of what do you guys think about stuff like that, just beyond football, and just that travel aspect that's going to occur for these single A and double A teams in the private school section of all this?
Yeah, I mean, there's some, because football's region play, every other sports area play, but that still means what our volleyball region is. It's Briarwood, John Carroll, and then it's also Indian Springs and ACA. But that's still you're talking about driving to ACA a couple times a year where you're playing games and stuff like that. Each team will have to do it. I mean, when you're playing baseball, there'll be a Tuesday night, Thursday night. I don't know exactly when they'll schedule it, but there are those longer trips. I mean, you know, a Thursday night game, you know, it used to be if we play a Birmingham team, I think we played Ramsey this year on a Thursday night game. Well, that's just drive to Legion Field, drive home. You're a little bit more tired because you stayed up a little bit later. But now, if because the team can't get their field, we're talking about playing a Thursday night game in Huntsville, and then you got to turn around and have school the next morning. So that's one of the scenarios we have to walk through and talk through. And then, you know, you're looking at the playoffs specifically for all the other sports too. Now you're talking about they're definitely going to be cross, and you're going to be going to Huntsville for playoffs. You're going to be going to Mobile. So if a kid plays two sports, there's a real possibility that they could first semester be traveling a good bit, second semester, maybe not all the time during the regular season because of the areas, but there could be some real common communities and rivalries that grow from this. And so it might be one day that we do want to play at Madison Academy because they've developed into a rivalry in baseball or basketball. I don't know exactly, but you are talking about because you're going to be more familiar with these teams because they're in your classification, you're going to build these natural rivalries that are going to carry over to multiple sports, and then you're going to see more and more. So initially right now, when you look at it, it doesn't look like the travel is going to be incredible for the other sports because of the area play. But I do think as time goes on and you develop these natural rivalries, it's going to push those to the forefront. And then always in playoff, you know, there's a lot of travel. It was great for us this year. I mean, Birmingham, we haven't left Birmingham for the playoffs in a while. I mean, we hadn't had to just go very far because all the 5A, 6A teams are right around here, and you're hosting or you're traveling just locally. So, I mean, the longest trip I think I've taken as a head coach is we played Fairhope week 10 one year, but then we also had to travel to Jackson one year in the playoffs. And so that's a little bit different. But for the most part, your playoffs are around here, and there's not this just huge long trips for all the sports. And so I think to me, that's one of the things that will be interesting to see how it develops. But, you know, there's the expenses that go with that. And, you know, at what point is a charter bus appropriate? Is it an hour? Is it an hour? I mean, you know, those are the things you start debating, like how far, you know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, hour and a half. I don't know. Like that's something that we'll have to kind of create as a school. This is what we believe to be the extent of a cheese wagon's not appropriate. We need to go to a charter bus. And so that'll be something that'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
You mean you aren't going to charter to John Carroll?
I mean, you know, as much as I would like to, I think I'll try and save where I can.
That's right. When did Coach Merrill? We'll start with you on this one. When did this possibility of, I guess I'm supposed to call it restructuring. I suppose that's the word I'm supposed to call it. I'm going to call it a playoff split and just call it what it is. But when did it become more than just like background noise? When did it start to feel like, oh, this is a distinct possibility this cycle?
Well, first off, have you considered bringing your 6-year-old to John Carroll? I'm totally kidding. I want to make sure that that's clear. I would say Friday morning when it came through. I was actually in Trussville at our bowling regionals, and I was following along on the AHSAA network, and to see it come through, that's probably when it became real. And that's what I think I reached out to Coach Forrester and we talked about it. And then the phones blew up all day. I know we were getting a lot of calls just asking about the private school perspective. And then I was on the phone with Coach Steele, our principal, and just talking through it. And because he was actually in meetings when it all came out. So I was calling him, or I'm sending him texting and just updates. And he called me after. He was like, "So wait a minute, what happened?" And so we were able to talk through it then. But and then obviously his phone was blowing up all day. So I'd say Friday is kind of when it all settled in or kind of hit, and then that's when we go into full on scheduling mode, trying to get those those non-region games. So I'd probably say that if my phone was on minutes still at this point, that I would be way over my minutes, and AT&T would be sending me a major bill.
Yeah.
So Friday's kind of when it set in. I don't think that a lot of people were expecting it, whether it was private schools or public schools. But on Friday, it turned into it is what it is, and it's time to get to work and start scheduling those games. And I think Coach Forrester did an amazing job of getting all the coaches together in our region and setting up a scheduled meeting that we actually had today and getting after it.
Maybe this is too early to ask this question. Maybe it's not. If it is, just say it is. Obviously, the non-region games, you can still play public. Has that been easy so far? Difficult? Different? The same? Ongoing?
It's the same for me. Like, there's been no difference. I mean, I think both of us would have really good relationships with the coaches around us. I think the Birmingham coaches respect us. We don't have issues. So, I mean, I'm still getting talked with people about whether they're asking me or they're asking me to help if I know of anybody. So there's still a few schools that are looking, but for the most part, everybody's pretty settled. And, I get the same coaches every 2 years that seem to reach out and say, you want to play. And so in some years, yes, I can. Some years I can't. And it just kind of depends on that. But it's one of those things, like it's very easy for some schools to find games. It's more difficult. And then there's a few schools that are still struggling, and it's because they've had such great success that they're still looking for games. And so it's that balance. But yeah, I mean, for me, I got Moody with Coach Tatum taking over, a good friend. I got Coach Burgesson down at Homewood, who's been a good friend of mine. And then somebody I'm kind of reconnecting with, Aubrey Blackwell down at Montgomery Catholic. We're going to play. So it was one of those things for us. Like, that's the most important thing you can do. You know what your region is. You're in an 8-team region, so you don't have to rush to get your region game set up. But 0, 1, 5, and 10, you need to get 3 of those filled so that your 7 region games can be set in the other weeks.
It's a heck of a non-region.
Yeah, it's been good. I'm really excited about it. And so I know John Carroll typically opens with Homewood, and we play Homewood next. So it's almost like a yearly tradition to get my early scouting report on John Carroll after watching Homewood. I almost feel like I need to send them our week 1 because I have this distinct advantage of getting to watch their first game.
We're coming out in wing T this year.
Yeah.
Y'all are doing what, Will?
We're coming out in wing T.
Wing T.
We're gonna run veer and midline just to hand that over to Briarwood.
Are you going over are y'all going over the other side of the trees this year?
We're not sure yet.
Not sure yet.
We might play it at Sanford. That was when we originally set it up a couple years ago. We were planning on doing it at Sanford, and then they've had some construction both years, and so we decided to do it 2 years ago or 3 years ago at John Carroll, and then when the cycle came through, we did it at John Carroll again, and then last year we were at Homewood. But it is an absolutely electric environment. I mean, it's standing room only. It's great for this community on Lakeshore to come together, and that's what Coach Bergson's a great guy, and it's truly a good test for us to start the season off with. So that's something I see that hopefully continues for many years to come.
Absolutely. Let's get into some of this reclassification nitty-gritty stuff. Help me understand. The multiplier's finally gone. But does that feel a certain kind of way that the multiplier's finally gone, but this restructuring happened?
Well, I guess you don't really need a multiplier if you're all by yourself over here. So there's nothing to multiply us to. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, hey, we'll take however it works. We've got to put our head down. I'm not the head of school. I don't report. So I'm going to do my absolute best. And there's a process you go through. You hear the news. It's quite jarring and shocking because it hasn't been done before in our state, and we're one of the states that's stuck together the longest. I mean, UMS Wright
Yeah.
was a charter member of the AHSA back in the 20s when it founded. So there's always been a private school a part of the AHSA. And I guess to say it a different way, there's always been a private school playing for a state championship with the public schools since it founded over 100 years ago. So there's never been a time where there hasn't been private schools in the AHSAA. And so it's one of those things to separate the championships is difficult. And then I think we sit at a little bit different spot being one of the larger private schools. I mean, it's us and John Carroll are two of the four largest private schools in the whole state. And so I think McGill-Toolen's first, we're second. I believe y'all are fourth this cycle. I think last time they were second.
Yeah.
So the numbers kind of change year to year based on enrollment and the size of your classes. But for the most part, it's one of those things. It's a little bit different for us because of the size of being over 400 students for both of our schools. That's, again, 9 through 11, and that's counting them as one person, not 1.35. So we're both over 400. And so that's one of those things. It's just a little bit of a unique challenge to be a school that size, and you're playing schools that are half your enrollment size.
Yeah. I was looking over here, like Faith Academy is third this cycle in AA.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel for those schools like a Glenwood, a Houston Academy that are fewer than 200 in their ADE. Yeah. But fairness. That's just me. Sorry. From y'all's perspective, why now? Like, I guess I'm asking you to guess in a way, but obviously central board, votes and all that. Why do you think, why did it come to a head this reclassification cycle? We'll start with you.
Not sure. I know that I know there's a lot of noise in the off season, and I know a lot of it kind of circled around the Choose Act. So I definitely wasn't in all those meetings. I'm not sure on many of the conversations. I think it's definitely an interesting decision, and I don't think we may have expected it to be that kind of extreme, for lack of a better word. But it's I think it kind of goes around the Choose Act, and then you may have had some amplified recruiting. Everybody wants to throw around the R word. I think there was some amplified recruiting, and especially when you get on social media, and I think that a lot of that was kind of amplified in the off season, and or since the season ended, and they decided to make a change.
Yeah. What's your perspective, Coach Forster?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily 100% sure why. I mean, they tell us what they did, but they don't necessarily give reasons for it. And again, there's some things, I'm a football coach, I don't have to know all things. But at the same time, it seemed to be heavily revolving around the Choose Act. And then, again, like, I think for both of us, the hard part is we want to be community schools. I mean, he talks about being a school on Lakeshore. We want to be a school on 119. Our communities are both more around of an idea than necessarily a geographical place. So for us, we're hosting around the idea of a Christian education, and our parents want that. They expect that. So for us, the Friday night experiences is one of the great places where our whole community can come together. We'll do Lions, Cabo Valley, our younger youth teams will come out one night. We'll have a cheer night. We'll have a night for the young band members in 5th and 6th grade to come out and join, because we see those Friday nights as an amazing opportunity to host our community and to see how everybody can be involved and what ways they can be involved. And again, love a Friday night. You've got, 70, 80 boys dressed out on the sidelines. You've got the cheerleaders going. You've got the band. You're recognizing a spring sports state championship at halftime. You're doing lots of different things throughout that to show that it's a community event. So I think the big thing for us is, there is that dreaded R word that comes around, but I think both of us would be clearly classified as a community school that is again, we're around an idea, not a location, but it's one of those important fabrics of who we are. And so we don't want to get lumped in with that category. We want to be the people that are following the rules, doing it the right way. And so if the AHSAA sets up a rule, we're going to follow it. If the AHSAA does the reclassifications, we're going to attack that and have the absolute best possible outlook on life that we can have, and we're going to do our absolute best. So we're going to put our head down and work. We're going to enjoy. We're going to get ready for the season. I don't know exactly what the future holds. I don't know what's coming, but I do know that we're going to be in the weight room tomorrow morning working hard, knowing that, this, in some ways, this reminds me of COVID. Everybody shuts down, everything ends. And I told my coaches at one point, I said, look, the world is going to turn right when it becomes August, because there is going to be football in the state of Alabama, and we're not going to miss that opportunity. So I know everything in the summer is weird and strange, but tell the team, if y'all can just hold on, the world will be turned right when football season hits. And so that's what was so refreshing about today, sitting down with these coaches, is it felt like the world was returning to right. And then tomorrow morning, every time I go into the weight room, it's my favorite part of the day, getting to spend time with them. And so, again, everything now will come and go, but man, the world's going to be right August 21st when we line up and get to play the first football game.
Yeah, it's
completely
always
agreed.
Yeah,
I'd
go
love
ahead.
to echo that. First off, Coach Forrester, what time are your boys getting there so I can let my boys know we need to show up 15 minutes earlier?
Yeah.
But two, that's the stance and the approach that we're taking here, and Coach Steele is very strong on that. Is our mission doesn't change. At the end of the day, we're trying to use athletics, we're trying to use football, we're trying to use that field out there as an outdoor classroom, and our mission to develop young men and women and send them out into the world better than what they came in, and with life lessons. And we understand that through our sports, that's the way that we're able to teach them. And to also echo, I mean, there's nothing that beats a Friday night. And when we get into, there's some changes that may be made, but there's also not much that beats a bus ride on a Friday night with your boys. And so we're taking that, and guess what? We get an extra hour, maybe. We may get an extra hour this certain Friday night. I know 2 years ago, we actually scheduled St. Michael's and went down there for week 2, and went down there on a Thursday night, spent the night on the bay, and had a day in Fairhope, kind of treated it like a mini bowl game. And I mean, those are some of the memories that these boys will take with them for the rest of their lives. So I completely agree with what Coach Forrester said there, is that it doesn't matter what the regions are. It doesn't matter what the issues may be. In August, everything all will be right with the world. And tomorrow morning, we still have to come in and we got to work, and we got to get these boys going and ready to work. So I completely agree with what Coach just said.
It's so true too. Like maybe y'all know, maybe you don't, but I spent this entire 2025 season with Clay Chalkville because I'm wrapping up a book about the season, but also that community, because I live right next door. I've wanted to do a book with them for a long time. And I got to kind of see that, finally got that little peek behind the curtain type deal where it wasn't just like a transactional Friday night, like not taking anything away from the games I've covered for decades, because, covering those games is why I'm able to talk to y'all now, but just getting to be behind the scenes a little more. Like I remember an OTA over the summer, Hillcrest came up to Clay and just, covered it, took photos, all the things. But it was listening to Coach Floyd and Coach Mitchell afterward talking about that, about, hey, best time of your lives. Don't take it for granted, all those kinds of things. Rode with the team to Muscle Shoals, uh, rode with them to Protective and all of that. And the reason I tell you all that is to kind of pose a question with the Choose Act stuff, obviously with the reclassification itself. Do y'all feel like the student athlete has kind of been forgotten in all this, that it's kind of become a little bit about adults and politics and all that crap? Like, do we think the kids have been lost a little bit in this? What do y'all think?
You want to go first?
Yeah. First off, I think you've got a great opportunity for book number 2 next year. Maybe you do 2 teams and follow John Carroll and Briarwood until we clash week 7. And then now you got a 2-team book kind of intertwining. But yeah, I'd agree with that. Is that at the end of the day, that's what matters. Are these kids, these young men, these young women that, and I don't know if that's been the major priority. And I don't say that in a judging way.
Sure.
I think that there's been a lot that has gotten in the way and a lot of noise here and there. But I think at the end of the day, when you make these kids that attend these high schools, wherever it is, when you make them and their development as young adults and what are we sending out into the world, when you make that the priority, everything kind of washes out. And I think that's what we saw today at our region meeting, and that's what was so refreshing, is that was the underlying goal. It was not who's got to travel here, and there was no. Well, I think how many times did we end up redoing the schedule just to make sure that everybody was considered, and not that anybody's throwing a fit. It was, oh well, we need to think about this, and maybe we can make this concession and figure it out. And it was 8 men in the same room figuring out what was the best for the kids, for the situation with what we've been dealt. And I think that's refreshing. And I think when you get down to it, boil it down, make it about the kids, make it about the families that are in each individual school, and you can't be wrong.
To me, this was the first region meeting where you're not angling to get an advantage or to make sure you play this team there. Like in a perfect world, I thought it would have been awesome if John Carroll and Briarwood could have played the last week of the region. Like I just thought that would have been neat. That's what I wanted all along. But I couldn't put my personal desires ahead of what was best for the kids of Randolph School or Lee Scott.
Yeah.
Like I had to make sure that they were doing it, that they were being treated fairly, and that I wasn't out to get a personal agenda across and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think, you go 1 through 8. I think at one point I was 8, and then I went to 3, and then I went to 5. And I would say about every school did that. We had to leave a couple stay the same so that we could move everybody else. But I mean, last thing, like, Coach, I'm gonna have 3 away games in a row. And this was when the meeting was over. I talked to Coach, and I was like, could we change a home and away? I know that'd only give you 3, but man, that would help me out. And he said, absolutely no problem. So, I mean, again, it was a really neat, special meeting because it really felt like it was about the kids and we're putting our personal agendas aside. I think this has been, a couple years ago, Coach Yeager, we did this thing at Briarwood Church. Coach Yeager, Coach Evans, and myself kind of got up and getting prepped for football season, trying to get some people to come out and hear from coaches. And one of the questions was about referees and how you handle them. And Coach Yeager said one of the great things that I've ever heard. He said, well, my authorities are the principals, the superintendent. The kids on the team never see me interact with my superiors. So the first time that they ever get to see somebody act with authority over me is the referees on the sideline. And if I'm expecting them to live in such a way, I need to hold myself to that same standard as it comes to referees. And I need to understand that they're the authority, and I need to treat them with respect and do things the right way. And that's always stuck out to me. But I think this has been an amazing opportunity for us all to live what we preach. hey, put your head down, work. Don't worry about the circumstances that you can't control. You've got to be the best you can be. And so again, I've had to wrestle with that because I'm sinful and a human and have emotions, but at the same time, like I really believe that, hey, my job is to work as hard as I can, is to get the best schedule for Briarwood, to challenge them to be the best team they can be. And, our goal is not, I mean, yes, there's a mythical goal that every team wants to win a state championship, but it's hard to have a goal when it's outside of your control. That's just one of the things I kind of believe in. So there's things that we can't control about winning a state championship. We can't control how good the other team is. We can't control the referees. We can't control the weather. There's so many things we can't control, but we can control our work ethic. We can control trying to be peaking at the right time. We want to be peaking as the playoffs hit, and we want to be playing our absolute best brand of football as the playoffs hit. So how can we make sure that happens? Well, we need to work really hard in the weight room tomorrow. We need to have a great spring training. We need to have a great summer so that we can progress to be the absolute best team that we can be by the end of it. So for me, you take a day, you ponder what it means, you take the weekend, you talk to a bunch of people, but then you come back to school with the snowstorm, you come back to school or lack thereof, but you come back to ice storm, I guess, but you come back on Tuesday and guys, let's get in the weight room, let's work. And then you come to our region meeting and you sit down with a bunch of men that want what's best for the kids, and you're refreshed and you're ready to go. And again, do I love what's happening? No. Do I think it's best for our kids? No. But I can't control it right now. So we're going to do our absolute best to work hard and be the best team we can be.
Yeah. I want to go back for just a minute. I'm going to read from this. It was a question. Full transparency. I don't understand it all, especially Chuzak. Don't get it. But so that's why I'm going to read this verbatim. I'm not going to say where I got it from, but it's from the public school side of things. And the question I got, if private schools would have been okay with sitting out a year for kids who used choose money and didn't make a bona fide move, we wouldn't be here. Does that make any sense?
So right when I became head coach, I went to a Region 5 meeting with Coach Matthews. He took me, he said it'd be good for you to go. Yeah. Steve Savarese stood up and he talked. And this is one of the most important things that I think happened and that Coach Savarese did, is he made a plea that these are 6 short years of these kids' lives. And over these 6 short years, we don't need to hold people out from athletics if they're going to be ineligible for certain reasons. So he made the proposal, and he went to all the districts, and he said, for sub-varsity sports, don't hold them out. So we had this whole understanding that for sub-varsity sports, you could play and you could move. So that, again, in our more mobile society today, being able to move, make decisions now with a Choice Act, and maybe there's people that have always dreamed of having a Christian education, but they haven't been able to afford it, and now they can. Well, are you willing to sacrifice an entire year of your son or daughter playing a whole sport and not, if you play 2 sports, that means you can't play games in the fall, you can't play games in the spring, you just have to sit and be a part of a team. And, I've been at Briarwood for 20 years, and I've seen kids, 13 years ago sit out, and how disengaged they become, how difficult it is for them to buy, they're freshmen, but they can't play in the game. So do they miss practice some? Then you're having to hold them accountable, and it just makes it so hard. So Coach Savarese made such an important plea to get and allow for sub-varsity play for, certain reasons that I thought it was a great decision. And and it makes a big impression on you when it's your first-time head coach. The executive director comes down, says this, and I was standing like 10 feet from him when he was talking, and I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense. It's just 6 years that you get organized sports that are outside of, parents controlling it. It's not professional. It's just you're playing for your school. So, yeah, it's such a valuable time in these kids' lives that not being able to play sub varsity as a seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, or even 11th grader. I think it's one of those things that's very important.
Yeah, I think the wording probably more than anything is what threw me off in it, because in my simple little mind over here, I'm like, well, if I'm going to a private school, like I knew someone years ago that went to John Carroll but lived in like Irondale, and I'm like, well, how do you make a bona fide move to a private school? They're coming from, like y'all said, it's built around kind of an ideology, not a location, right? So I'm like, how do you make a I didn't understand that about how you would even make a bona fide move when it's not a geographical distinction.
Mm-hmm. And that's where that guy would sit out and not be able to play varsity, but
Just
he'd be able
because
to
they
play
went
sub
to,
varsity.
okay.
Yeah. So you go from Irondale to John Carroll. You're not in the same district, I would assume. I don't know all of John Carroll's district, but
Yeah,
you do
got
have
to
the
be
ability.
Birmingham City School.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that, you can move over. That's where you'd have to move into. For us, it's Shelby County. So if somebody lives in Jefferson County, wants to come to Briarwood, and if they don't move, they can still play sub varsity.
That
But
would have
if
been our
you
situation if, like I would have said earlier, if because we're in Jefferson County, if we would have stayed here and just made that commute, we would have been in that boat if
Yeah.
we made that move and if our kid was playing sports.
Yeah, and if you made that move in eighth grade, then right now under the rules, he would be able to play eighth grade football. But if he made that move and you use Chuzac money, he wouldn't be able to play anything. And so now you've got kids that are choosing either if I can't play in the games, I'm not going to play this year, or so that's the tricky part about it, is the difference between sub varsity and varsity play.
How overstated is Cusack money related to private schools versus public schools? Or is it overstated?
I mean, anybody can receive it. If you're going out of district from private or from public to another public school, and that public school accepts out of district money, like I think I don't know the fees. I have not looked this up, but like I wouldn't be shocked soon if those fees are approaching very close to $7,000, in order to get that. And because public schools have the ability to have that money as well. And so I would assume if they're using that money, those kids would be ineligible to play for an entire year. And then again, I just can't. That's the hard part, like
Yeah,
losing an entire year of seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th grade football. Like that's really tough.
that is. Mm, mm, mm. Trying to find ways to ask stuff that isn't like, because y'all know me. I don't try to be like I don't like the controversy type stuff or the perception of it. I like the nuance and learning all this stuff, because like for some reason I've gotten questions about this stuff and I'm like, I don't know. Ask somebody else. I do not know. I have no clue.
I
Um,
mean, because there are a lot of nuances with the rules with private schools, that being well versed in that is helpful. And there's a lot of things that the hoops we have to jump through, that even our public school coaches that haven't been in private school world don't quite understand or know. And so again, that's one of those things, like when you do it well and you do it right, like I know John Carroll has done, and we're always trying to do as well. Like it's a lot of work to make sure that we do it right so these kids can play and have the experiences they want to, and we're following the rules.
yeah, absolutely. Coach Mayer, any thoughts before we
No,
move
he
on?
hit the nail on the head with all points above, and that's what we've. There have been kids that have approached us and come to us about wanting to transfer in, but some of these rules have, and that's what we're very straight up and honest with them, and it's to where they end up making a decision to, well, we don't necessarily want to sit out. We'd love to be able to come over here, but that factor is kind of the driving factor for a lot of it. So we've we've turned kids away, and we've welcomed families in that have also done it the right way and come in and moved in. And I know we had a guy come by last week, checking just randomly checking some paperwork. I know he was making his rounds, but that's what we've done everything. We choose to be in this association, and I know Briarwood does as well. And we agree to what those rules have been, and we followed those. And that's something that we take very seriously, and that's something that we go in and check. And I can't tell you how many home checks that I have been on with Coach Steele, and taking pictures and printing files and paperwork, and a lot of these hoops that we've jumped through for kids that want to come and experience what we have to offer. And I do truly believe that we've got something special to offer. When you look at the educational side of it, the faith-based side of it, our big motto now is the mind, heart, body, and soul. And that's what we truly believe, that we're trying to develop the whole human being with the experience that you're getting at John Carroll.
Yeah. And you're not kidding about the hoops to jump through. Like, I've heard stories over the years. This is just any school, public or private, it doesn't matter. But like, I just happened to be at Clay this summer. It was, I know what it was. It was the week of the Hueytown game. Very first game of the season. I refuse to call it week 0. I don't know where y'all land on that, but to me, that's a big deal. And week 0 doesn't make any sense.
If we start calling it week 1 when it's week 0, then it's almost like speaking a different language to some coaches. And then you'd have somebody scheduled.
It's not the 0th game. It's the first game. I agree. I will die on this hill.
Completely.
Anyway, I went the Thursday before that first game. And the reason I wanted to more than anything was one of the team chaplains, I wanted to hear him speak. I had not gotten to hear him speak yet. He was going to speak to the team every Thursday before games, Pastor Wilder. And so I just went to listen to that. And I show up, don't see Coach Floyd, and this will be in the book, but don't see Coach Floyd like the entire time I'm there. I go to walk through. I'm there for the weightlifting session, which as just someone standing around and observer is weird. And then I wanted to hear Pastor Wilder. I don't see Coach Floyd the whole time. Find out there have been people on campus, people calling all week long about eligibility and checks and all the hoops to jump through and the paperwork, and not even just like, hey, provide this. It's like they would provide it. And then the next day it's like, okay, you provided it, but you didn't do this. It was like every day they added something on, and you're like, okay, this particular kid's been here for like a month or whatever it is now. We're doing this right up to game time for the very first game. What are we doing here? So I really got to see that hoop being jumped through and how many times they had to jump through the same hoop. And it was eye-opening. I'll say that.
Like, because football starts, I think the 3rd week of school for us is going to be our first game, that 3rd Friday of school. Yeah. So everything happens, and then you're looking at eligibility forms. Yeah. I mean, like, hey, what do you do in August? I go to in-service, I play in practice, I coach at practice, I watch film, and I track Dragonfly, and I email every single parent about every single form that they're missing. And it doesn't matter how many I send, something's going to be wrong. Like, just because there's humans involved, there's going to be error. And ma'am, y'all emailed the backside of the physical, but I need the front side for this page, and I need the backside on the other one. And you didn't circle the doctor didn't circle MD. I need them to circle MD, and I need you to get it turned back in. Does the doctor have to circle that? Ma'am, somebody has to circle that. So I need that. I need it uploaded properly. Like, I mean, just all those hoops that you're jumping through. And there's the part when, like, you get to the first game and it's not like excitement as much as it is a relief.
Relief.
And I think head coaches get that, and ADs probably get that too. Like ADs get it once the scoreboard turns on, the concession stands properly working. Like they have a different level of anxiety, but we all have that same anxiety about week 0. We made it to it, and
Yeah.
football has made it return to normal. But man, there were a whole lot of little hoops we jumped through in that process.
See, a year, if you would have said that exact crazy list, if you would have said that a year ago, I would have been like, come on. But now, like, I saw it and I'm like, every single thing you're saying, I'm like, yep, that's true. That's true. I mean, truth is stranger than fiction.
It really is. It is. I mean, it's like, whew, that's where like that's been the hardest part for me, waiting until January. Like, I think we're also creatures of habit. Like, hey, my
Oh, for
schedule's
sure.
done in December, first part of January. I'm getting up my JV and my freshman roster schedule, trying to get that fixed, and then I'm moving on to the next thing. And wait until the late January to do all of this. I feel like I'm running behind. Like I'm going down to that Alabama football coaches convention tomorrow, and the last thing I've thought about is X's and O's. In this whole like, hey, when's the last time you draw up a play or you thought about a play? Thursday. I had some neat ideas that I wanted to share with my coordinators and stuff like that, but that's all been put on hold because we're just working through this. And so at some point, it's going to be amazing to get that return to what February is supposed to be. Like February is supposed to be a deep dive into whatever I want to do that's new and stuff like that. So I can't wait for that to kind of feel normal. I can't wait for all the decisions to be finalized. Like we don't know what our playoff structure is.
No.
Like there's only 16 teams in our classification. Does that mean that 8 teams are making it? Do all 16 make it? Does 12 make it? Are we like so there's still that uncertainty of, well, are we going to just play the same teams we played in the regular season and then that team's going to go to the champion? Are we going to travel and play the region 1 in the early rounds? Does that mean a team from Huntsville is going to have to travel to Mobile? Like there's so many just unknown questions that I guess doing it for as long as we both have, like I know how the tiebreakers work. Like, like I can
Yeah.
go through that. There's so many things that like, oh yeah, that and that. And, this is how it does in the state. This is how it does. And so the uncertainty of all this is the part that just, like, hey, this is, again, we want to win football games, but we want to develop, I think, the whole person. We want to use the classroom or the football field as an extension of the classrooms. We want to teach grit, determination, hard work, discipline, all of those things. But there's still a part that like we want to win football games and we want to know about that. So how
Yeah.
can we, so that's where I'm at the
When does
moment.
that playoff structure, like, y'all have any indication of when that gets figured out?
I think they said February 5th. I think that was the date that's been thrown out there.
Okay. So
Coach, if
not
you can
too,
get all that fancy scheme out early in the year or wait till after week 7, that'd be great.
We'll do it. I really
um,
like where I'm heading to, by the way, which y'all did a good job of exploiting at times. So I've got to beef up my game a little bit this year
I told you
because
we're wing T. Just go ahead and mark that down.
love it. Love it. We'll start to wrap on some of this. Something, Coach Mary, you touched on it a minute ago. Just something I want to ask both of y'all. Obviously, there are private schools that are just private schools. They're not just Christian schools, right? They're not necessarily faith-based. So I guess I'm asking about the whole umbrella of private schools in this. But from your experiences, why do families tend to choose private schools? And realistically, where do athletics, not just football, where do athletics fall on that list?
Well, first off, I would say that, and I want to be very careful because like we are surrounded by a ton of high quality public schools. And I mean, they improve and improve every year. I would say that the reason parents and families choose private schools, and each private school, whether it's a faith based institution or not, there's a mission statement. There's a mission. There's a passion that is kind of behind it, and at the end of the day, that's got to be something that the families believe in and literally buy into. There's literally a sacrifice or an investment that goes into that, and that's a big thing that we say here, is that this is not a 4-year sacrifice. Don't look at it as a 4-year sacrifice. This is a 40-year investment. You decide to come here, and the relationships that you're going to build, the challenges educationally that we're going to be able to push you to, and just the experience as a whole, developing the whole human being. And once again, there are some very high quality public schools out there. And I mean, I can name 30 that are just around us. But just there's something different about John Carroll. There's something different, obviously, about Briarwood. There's something different that every private school tries to set themselves apart with. And I know for us and for Briarwood, it is a faith-based. For us, it's Catholic, and for Briarwood, it's Christian, and just every private school that you go, there's going to be some sort of mission of what puts us over the top. So I can't speak on every private school, but I would imagine that is kind of what the draw is to whatever that base of population would be. But we find athletics to be very important. Athletics, as we've mentioned, it's the outdoor classroom, and more than just athletics. I mean, extracurricular activities in general, developing the whole entire human, developing that it is more than just the 8 to 3 school day. What are you doing from 3 to 8 to develop? How are we taking care of these kids and these families, and how are we developing these children and young men and women to go out into the world and be better fathers, better mothers, better contributors to society. And one of our big things is I mean, we don't know the success of our football season until 15 years down the road, when those kids come back and they say, man, I remember learning these lessons. One thing that we talk about all the time is CAV way. That's commitment, attitude, and valor. And I mean, we've got a whole curriculum, a whole course. I mean, it's about 72 pages with 14 little lessons in there and chapters and little topics. And zero of it has to do with scoring touchdowns on Friday night. But it is what we build our football team around. There are other athletic programs here that use that same thing, and it's growing. And zero in there has what scheme we're going to be doing. Zero in there has, oh, we need to do this, this, and this. Now, conveniently, when a group of young men or women have those qualities and develop those qualities and come every day with a commitment to what they're doing and an attitude, a positive attitude, and an attitude to move forward, and that valor of courage and bravery, conveniently, it can lead to results on a Friday night. But athletics plays a huge role in all education systems, but we truly believe that it is definitely a major role here, and I would imagine Briarwood would say the same thing, and that's what we're passionate about. I know he's an alum of Briarwood. I'm an alum of John Carroll, and we both love our respective schools, and I think that's why we are where we are and why we do what we do, and we see that there's a greater purpose than just that only what happens on Friday nights. It's about the whole 365 days that lead up to each individual Friday night, and what lessons are we teaching these kids? And I think that's something that, I mean, we are allowed to, at a private school, to express our faith and to do that kind of stuff. So sorry to get off on a little rant, get a little passionate, but I think that's something that private schools are able to put out there.
Sure. Coach, how
Yeah,
about you?
I think, one of the things that stuck out, multiple times in our conversation is, we talk about, we're expanding the playoffs so that more teams I guess there can be more state champions. But like ultimately, yes, the goal is everybody wants to win one, but that's not why we do it. That's not why that's not why you wake up every day and dream of a state championship. Well, yes, I want to win one, but the underlying reason we do it is we're trying to mold young men to be better members of society. We want them to be the best husbands. We want them to be the best elders and deacons in their church. We want them to be great fathers. We want them to be great employees or employers, whichever way they'll go. But we want that to happen for these kids. So we're building something in such a way that football is a part of your growing up experience so that you can be great 30 to 40 years down the road. We don't want the hardest thing they have to do is in their 20s and they have no sort of training to fall back on. So, you get out on your own, you start making decisions, you start living life, you get married, you have kids. It's hard. It's not easy. We'd love to be able to provide football as a way where they've done something hard. They've had to be disciplined. They've woken up. They've learned the lessons that they need to be successful. Now, we can never prepare somebody what it's like to wake up at 3 a.m. with your 3-month-old. Like, that's just impossible. But we can say that, hey, you played a JV football game on Monday night. I expect you at school at 8 a.m. I mean, that doesn't quite compare, but for a 15-year-old boy, that's like, oh my goodness, like that's no. If we have to be at school, you have to be at school. I know you stayed up late and you played a game and you traveled home from Corner last night. Like, get to school on time. Like, it's part of the discipline and the expectations because that baby is going to need them one day to learn those things. And so, for me, that's the underlying mission that we're trying to do here. I mean, I'd echo everything Coach just said. We provide a Christian education. Briarwood started when they took prayer out of the public schools. Our founding pastor, Frank Barker, and some elders and women of the church said, we need to be able to have a place where kids could pray in school. So we open every day this year has been opened with an administrator coming on the intercom and saying a prayer. It's a minute long. But again, it sets the framework of what we're about. And so, I mean, very rarely am I on the football field talking about Jesus, but everything I do on the football field is living for Jesus. I want them to see the way I live and the way I carry myself as a representative of him, that I'm trying to be better. So that means when I mess up, I have to apologize. I have to ask for forgiveness. I have to do things the right way, and I have to be held to a higher standard. And so for me, that's a neat thing that while I might not say, we pray every day, but I might not talk about a religious topic every day, everything I do is girded underneath with the idea of my Christianity, and I'm wanting these kids to live out. And there's times we take and we talk about it, and we have really in-depth talk, but like most of life is spent, in the valley. You either just came off the mountaintop and you're on your way down, or you're climbing up to become better. But most of life is spent in that valley. And so every year in football season, there's valleys and there's low points. And then there's these incredible peaks, but they don't last long. And so again, trying to get these kids to understand about instant gratification. Like, we were successful because of what you chose to do in June, what you chose to do in February with your weightlifting and things like that. So again, because the world's so instant gratification, I need to make sure that they're seeing their hard work paying off over time. Like, there's nothing better than a freshman kid who's 115 pounds being 180 pounds, and you look back at the yearbook picture and you're like, that was you. Like, look what your hard work did. Look what your commitment did. And if they can learn those lessons in high school, I think they're going to be better well served as they get off. And, we do that with our football players, but I also do that with my managers, but drone flyer. I've had a drone Guy fly a drone for me for the last 3 years. He's coming into his senior year, and we talk about the evolution he's taking, the quality of our drone, how much it's improved because of what he's been willing to do and put in the work and things like that. So again, that's where we get to do that. Our band director gets to do that with our marching band. Our cheerleader sponsor gets to do that. So that's one of the things I love about the fall is how many people are tied into a Friday night and the experience that all of them get to have from a specific world and life view that we have, that these parents are choosing to put their kids in for the investment in their future.
Yeah, and the thing, and we'll wrap with this, the thing that the through line that both of you spoke of, about your respective schools, like the example I can give, spending a whole season again with one team, was about late September when Clay beat Thompson, right? That was about the time that, it was sticking with people that I was with them every week and that I was writing a book. And about that time was when everybody was like, oh, we see why you did this because they're really good. And I'm like, look, it doesn't hurt that they're good. They're good every year. Like every year since they opened, pretty much they've been really, really good. I knew that. I said what sold me on the idea wasn't the roster. It wasn't Corey Barber coming back. It wasn't having Aaron Fry, in his second year starting. It wasn't the defense. I said it was they read a book in the spring. They read Legacy by James Kerr about the New Zealand all black rugby team. Um, so I wanted to read it too. Coach Floyd told me about it, told me about the lessons they did. Like they had accountability groups. That some guys thought they were going to be a leader of one of those groups and they weren't. They had to find their voice. They had to find their leadership. It was about kind of instilling, all those intangibles, right? Like the leadership, the culture, sweeping the sheds. They talk about all throughout that book and taking care of where you're from. And I was like, that's what I want to write about. Now we're going to tell what happens on Friday nights, of course, but we're going to tell it through the lens of what you learned through that book and how that is applying on Friday nights. I was like, told these people, I was like, do you want to read a book that's 10 chapters or 15 chapters that's just a game story every chapter? That sucks. Like, that sucks. Like, that's not what we're doing here. So it was kind of to that point that it's that through line of things like legacy, things like leadership and stuff like that. And that's really what matters, like, and, seeing them win the state championship was cool, but like the book doesn't end right there, like there's a few chapters after that because they moved up, like you said, Coach Forster, it moved on quick. Like I thought there'd be a lot more relishing in this thing, and it was like, all right, put it on the shelf, and we're on to the next thing. So anyway, that's my little spiel about the book that's almost done.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, that's one of the great parts about what we do as a profession. Like,
Mhm.
your season ends and you've got to take time to reflect, sit down, think, because you always want to be better than you were. But at the same time, like we get to go on to build something new, you know.
Yeah.
Kurt Signetti, whenever he talked about, well, Indiana's never won at such and such. I forget where it was, and he goes, "Well, this team's never played here before," and just that mindset of where we're going and what we're trying to do. Like this is a new team, this is new people. Like I'm
Yeah.
super excited about this coming year, the new leadership that's going to take place, and now, hey, I talked leadership with last year's seniors. Need to hurry up and start talking about leadership with this year's seniors. And I need to start in trending that. And how can I do it better? Like the goal is, yes, I want to win on Friday nights, but if I don't do the little things better, if I don't have good quality meetings with seniors now, I'm not
Yeah.
going to be as good as I am on Friday nights. So how can I improve on what I did last year? And so you're constantly chasing after the best version you can be of yourself so that you can make sure your team's the best version of themselves.
That's exactly right. Anything else y'all want to add before we wrap this thing up? I know it's been a bit on here, so
No, I
Nothing.
mean,
Go
I,
ahead.
I think I'm just excited. I'm grateful you gave us this opportunity. I hope people aren't looking on here saying, "Oh, they're just complaining." Here we go. Like, we're going to take whatever the state gives us, and we're going to do the absolute best that we can do. Like yes, we have things we desire and we want, and we understand that we don't always get what we want, but that doesn't change our mission and how we're going to do things. So I'm really excited about my team. I'm excited about the future of Briarwood football. I look forward to the next 10 to 20 years doing this. I mean, this is what I want my life to be about, is ministering and shaping the lives of high school men or boys that will become men. And so I'm really excited about this opportunity, and we'll take it and we'll do the absolute best we can with it.
I completely agree. There's zero complaining, and I hope that that's very clear between the both of us. And that's what I love this place, just like Coach Forrester loves Briarwood, and I hope to be here another 20, 30 years and retire from this place. So and make it as special as we can. And that starts. It's already started a couple weeks ago, months ago, and we'll resume at 6 a.m. tomorrow. So we're moving forward, and whatever happens, all's going to be right in August. And just put the ball down and let's play.
Love it. Couldn't end it a better way. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, Gary.
It's good to talk to y'all again.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You too.
Maybe
We'll be
more
looking for
this
a
fall.
private school book next year.
Man, you can talk to my wife. I got to take a break probably.
You'll have a spot on our charter buses. To Huntsville.
There you go. You can get a lot done on that ride.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. You
Thanks
too.
so much.
See y'all later.
Take care.
See you, man.